JDG. They could go for their jungler too if they don't want to show anything, but I think just locking in a strong bottom lane. What we mentioned before, Loken and LvMao have been a little bit suspect to the 2v2, so maybe lock in something like, you know, Tristana or even the Samira. Go for the 2v2, go for something like an Alistar or a Leona alongside it, play aggressively, play like, hey, you don't get to just beat us in the 2v2, you don't get to beat this kind of combo. It looks like that's what they're going to go towards.
See, anytime I hear Samira still, my mind's on 11-4, and I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, 11-3, 11-3.
Yeah, no, this is 11-3. Samira's still real good. She is real good. She's kind of too strong, honestly, on those patch, so don't ever count her out.
Not yet. Once we move forward in time, Munch, that's when we'll finally be able to see her gone. But it does seem that neither team really care too much for it regardless. You already have kind of the safer lane in the Tristana Alistar, where you're going to be able to utilize that Alistar to stand in front of Tristana as she tries to scale up into the lane. But it might be Xayah Rakan coming in for Rat and ShiauC, almost answering the fact that it's going to be those sack bot lanes.
Yeah, I'm curious what ShiauC will go for here, because his most played is by far Alistar, then it's Thresh. Both of those off of the board right now. And then he's played like one game of pretty much every other support in the league. Rakan is going to be the lock-in. I would have loved to see Leona, but it doesn't seem like it's something that ShiauC's that interested in this split. But we'll see. Rakan up against this Tristana certainly gives you some level of matchup in the 2v2, but I definitely still lean towards the Tristana and the Alistar. Gnar just going to be the blind top lane to round out this first half of the draft. Does mean Kanavi doesn't have a jungler, so eStar can definitely look towards pinching that pool.
Pinching it so far, at least to be able to make it a little bit more difficult. Things that are kind of standing out, you know, there's Graves. I don't want to see Graves. That's a pretty low win rate coming in from Kanavi so far, but Lilia is the one that really is making me wonder, even though it's not necessarily that great into an Udyr, it's something that we've seen a good performance coming in from JDG, utilizing that for those team fights to be able to round out a composition for a little bit more AP, as well as being able to lock down plenty of targets.
Yeah, towards the bans here, you can see Renekton taken away from ZS. I wouldn't be surprised to see a second ban towards that top lane as well from JDG. Maybe something like the Camille, or maybe you predict that he goes towards something like the Ornn, which has been a bit of a favorite for him. You could just take either of those off the board and make sure you're giving Zoom as easy of a time as possible. But the Lilia ban towards Kanavi, not too surprising. Incredibly strong jungler on the patch, but also something Kanavi's quite happy to lean towards. The Graves is the big question mark. I don't think it'll be banned by eStar, because I don't
think so either.
Why would you ban Graves? It's a garbage champion. But there's a very real chance that Kanavi picks it anyway. I don't know what it is. LPL junglers don't seem to care about the fact that this champion can't win games. They're quite happy to lock it anyway. So I would say that the Olaf is actually the premium jungler in terms of what's available. Oh, the Olaf is banned in the first phase. So
I wish that he was available. It's such a good pick into Udyr, but you're going to have to go to, you know, the second, third string junglers. You even get the Zoe ban, feeling that Lilia was enough. You don't really need to focus too much onto that jungle pool, because what do you want to take into Udyr? Olaf's gone, which is considered one of the best matchups into that. So now you're going to have to really dive into your pockets, figure out what kind of change you have there. Do you want to go for something maybe like the Mundo that we've seen a couple times to be able to almost stat check that Udyr, or do you want to be able to go for early game pressure, the Nidalee that we saw hovered before?
Well, it looks like they're going to go towards the mid lane here with the blind pick, the Yagao of the Twisted Fate. This is something that's worked for this team a ton of times in the past. You can play towards your side lanes here for Yagao and not allow the 1v1 to happen. I think in the jungle pick, they probably... I think they might even go towards the Kayn instead of the Graves. I could feel it. Kanavi likes Kayn. No. He's got a 0% win rate on it historically, but he seems to like the pick. Over towards eStar, though.
I'm sorry, I don't want to but yeah. It's one of those stats that we looked up and we were just like, how many times has Kanavi played it? I think it's 3 times he's played it. And
he's played 3 times. He's lost all 3 times. Yeah. But look, he likes the pick and I'm here for it. I'm okay with him losing so long as I get to have some fun. We're going to have the Sylas locked in, though. And then the Jayce is available. It's just a great matchup into the Gnar. Aurelia also actually a very good matchup into the Gnar because you can just all in. But I feel like Jayce has been more consistently up there in the top side. I'm excited for this Sylas pick for Irma, though, because he has some good ults to steal, very good into the Twisted Fate, being able to steal that Destiny, get out onto the map. But it's the Hecarim for Kanavi. Right. It's not something he's played this split. Certainly gives him a lot of hard engage.
Also, we'll be able to kind of dive in there if you're going to be able to use LvMao with that as well. It offers a couple of avenues to be able to go right past a lot of this low range we see coming in from the side of eStar. Well, you know, Jayce and the Xayah are going to be able to provide a little bit of that disengage, a little bit of poke. But it's not enough to be able to stop someone like Hecarim, who's going to bulldoze his wave down into the backline, and then it allows Zoom, again, this team fight-oriented composition that JDG tend to like to go for. It might be a little bit unusual. Normally you talk about Gnar, you talk about split push capabilities, but when it's up against Jayce, you kind of have to change your mindset and be able to instead go for what the team needs.
Yeah, Zoom, not in a favorable matchup, let's be honest, but Zoom is no stranger to unfavorable matchups. This is the king of the weak side, if you will. So I expect Zoom to be trying to get onto the map and help out the squad when it comes to things like the Dragons. But what I'm most looking towards is Yagao on this Twisted Fate. I want to see him getting out of lane at level 6. I want to see him just shove that wave out, use the Destiny effectively. But JDG have to find picks fast, because the squad that eStar have built for themselves is all about these skirmishes. So if the fight goes on longer than just a quick pick, it starts to lean towards eStar.
And this is one thing I love with picking Sylas. You talked about the skirmish capabilities eStar have. As we get into game 1 between these two, I want to see how they're going to be able to utilize the stolen Destiny Gate from Irma to be able to constantly find those skirmish capabilities.
All right, we're heading into Rift, man. Hit us up with your first ever LPL intro.
Alrighty, game 1, eStar, JDG, they're both getting onto the Rift. JDG want to be able to keep it strong going towards that playoff run, while eStar want to be able to have the late season run. Let's find out as we load up onto the Rift. How was that?
Beautiful. Giving me chills. I've got goosebumps. Yeah, we're jumping onto the Rift here. Is this eStar versus JDG? I believe both playing in Shanghai, if I'm not mistaken. Our second series will be over in V5's arena, so
that's always cool. I love that about LPL, that teams have their own arenas. Well, some of them do, and they're able to go over there, play in front of a different crowd. It's such a cool thing to be able to witness.
Yeah, it's awesome that there are multiple arenas and that it's continuing to grow. Even in COVID, we're seeing announcements for new arenas and whatnot. So it's an exciting time to be involved in the LPL. But looking across the table here, I have to say the lane I'm most excited about is that bottom lane. Because I feel like when you've got Rakan and Alistar and you've got a Tristana in the lane, like, you know that is going to be a lane where we see 2v2s, where we see action going. Both junglers pathing towards the top side though, so maybe no intention to gank in that lane. It could just be pure 2v2.
Or maybe, you know, you get that early gank into the bot lane, you immediately try to see if you can contest that bot scuttle crab to find the play. You never know. Right now, we're kind of seeing that they're both pathing towards where you're having the Krugs taken by Hacker. Kanavi is getting the Gromp. He's going to go for the full clear. So they might actually have that small chance, that small window to be able to try to contest one another on this bottom half of the map still. Nope, they're not.
Yeah, we'll have to see which jungler is going to be able to go for the top crab. I would anticipate that it's Hacker, because Hecarim not generally that strong in the early game, and I mean Hacker's playing Udyr, so you're kind of pretty good by default. So should be able to win out in the skirmishes. The one thing I will say though is Yagao has push in the mid lane. So it's possible for Yagao to get out in that mid lane and help his jungler out. The opposite can be said on the top side though, is ZS has massive priority over Zoom in that top side of the map. So
Jayce
I am
Gnar.
curious if we get a bit of a skirmish.
As we see mid lane, a bit of a skirmish happening there. Yagao was able to pretty much eat up a lot of that mana Irma tried to expend to be able to push back and get some control, some semblance of a skirmish in that mid lane. Unfortunately, just not going to be able to work. Not when you have Corrupting Pot that you can constantly be able to stack up from Yagao to stay safe. But I feel like this is what's going to be the problem. If you can see Kanavi getting an early gank, he will be spotted out by the ward. So it's not actually going to be any issue for ZS right now, as Hacker tries to be able to get the Scuttle Crab. Yagao still nearby, though. enough to be able to put up some sort of fight, but I'm more surprised that they're not even trying to rotate towards him. Instead, it's just Kanavi hanging around the top lane, being able to push off ZS away from ZS. See, this is where you get, the American coming in and saying that. It's like, I don't see Zed on the Rift, but I still got to say it.
Look, this is a weird sequence of events that we just witnessed. So Kanavi goes for this kind of pseudo gang top to let Zoom get away with the tower. But in the meantime, he sacrifices both Scuttle Crabs towards Hacker, while Yagao sort of contests Hacker on the crab, but doesn't really, and has no real way of stealing it because Hacker has smite. So I'm really not sure what that whole sequence of events was. Didn't feel like JDG were on the same page for it. But ultimately, Hacker coming out with a slight lead in the jungle to start things off, as you would expect in this kind of matchup. But importantly, Kanavi's already head back to base. He's already grabbed himself some boosts of lucidity, so he could make a play towards the bot side now.
Might be able to. You see the TP was used as Rat was able to flash away, but they're trying to see if they can get the charge coming in from Kanavi. Going to be able to get the knockback in. Did a little bit of damage, but the heal should be enough to keep him alive. But the flash in with gold card gets first blood for Yagao.
Beautiful stuff. This is what we wanted. Yagao getting out of that mid lane and getting onto the map. I said he needed to do it at level 6, but Yagao's like, look, why would I wait until level 6? I've already got teleport. Just goes at level 5. Circumvents the expectation, right? Subverts the expectation. And Irma doesn't get to steal that ulti and roam first. So very nicely done here by Yagao to get out on the map and get the bot lane ahead.
Gotta get the Dark Seal stacks early, my man. You have to be able to get those stacks. That's all what it was about, right? It wasn't about actually getting the kill. It was about Magi.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's all about, you just got to start. Here's the thing. If you want to write a book, you got to start writing chapters. You got to start writing sentences. This is how he's in the early game. He's starting to put the foundation down of his story so he can build it into a book later.
Even LvMao hanging around this mid lane. They're trying to play around this mid lane. Yagao, like you had mentioned, is the idea, the pretty much the, I'd say the bookmark of their team comp, what they want to be able to do, where they always are going to be able to kind of join back in whenever they want to. It's all around how Yagao is able to play. It's a nice buffer from Loken to be able to get away from that one. It's Tristana, not really much of a threat in that bot lane to getting killed off by ShiauC or Rat. Just going to be able to constantly play this weak side so that LvMao is able to be everywhere else on the map.
Yeah, one thing I will say on the side of JDG is if LvMao roams a lot, it sucks for Loken as Tristana. But here we go, they're going again.
Gold card and a double knockup as well. Rat, you don't have flash nor heal this time with an explosive charge. Going to be able to get the kill over to Loken this time and take down ShiauC for Yagao to get a second kill.
And look who are getting the kills as well. 2 on Yagao, 1 on Loken. The assists coming through as well. This feels great. And guess what, Zoom? He's okay being in the counter matchup. He's only 10 CS down. He could just chill here all game long while the bottom lane gets so far ahead for JDG.
And this is crazy. Normally, JDG are this team that usually try to wait it a little bit longer, try to be able to get themselves ahead towards the mid game. And they're like, nah, not today. We're playing the early game style. We're utilizing this Twisted Fate and Yagao being everywhere on the map. That is already the second time that he's visited the spot lane. And I imagine once you have that Destiny Gate open again, rinse and repeat, constantly trying to punish Rat and ShiauC.
But I love this adaptation from JDG because we could see that their style was going to change from the draft. Tristana is not a pick that you expect from Loken, but going with this combination instead, going for the Alistar, it gives them so much freedom with Yagao playing on this Twisted Fate, which he's not played a lot this split, but he has played a lot historically. Gives you so much freedom to be able to impact the rest of the map. Build a snowball for yourself.
Nice dodge.
Yagao's going to be fine. It's all fine.
Got the fancy feet there. Was able to dodge away that chain. Didn't even have to worry about it. And this has allowed Kanavi to be able to just constantly scale back up into this game where, sure, you have a bit of a difference when it comes to farming up the jungles, but Hacker hasn't been able to make that play yet to be able to counter what Kanavi's been able to accomplish for the team, utilizing the tag team duo of Hecarim, Twisted Fate, constantly going to the spot lane. And you had mentioned too that Zoom hasn't been punished one time this game. There hasn't been anything that they can get elsewhere for eStar to counter this momentous start from JDG.
So on that topic, I would love to see eStar start to build some plays for themselves here. You have a Sylas. he's able to get out onto the map and do a lot, especially with Yagao's Destiny on cooldown. I actually think that's your sort of window to be able to try and make a play, steal the Destiny yourself, get out into a side lane. Maybe go for a dive on Zoom while he's exhausted on the Gnar. Maybe go towards that bottom lane and try and turn that matchup in your favor. I will say the bottom lane, not great right now for eStar. With a Xayah being behind, you're never really going to win that on the bottom side. But JDG going to be able to start this Drake off. They've got massive priority both in mid and bot lane at this point, so there's realistically no way to contest from eStar. I would have loved for eStar to read this and go towards the Herald at the same time, maybe try and trade objectives.
But Hacker's all the way down there getting his own Krugs while that was happening. He's so far on the map from being able to get anything, and with that vision already secured by JDG, it just feels like eStar are forfeiting this early game when they should be trying to get some of these lanes ahead. ZS in the top lane with a bit of pressure on Zoom, as you expect in the Jayce Gnar matchup, but not nearly enough to make up for what's happened bot lane, what's happening mid lane. Irma, hell, hasn't even been able to make a Destiny Gate play himself at Sylas, where you can steal that away and try to see if you can punish something like this bot lane that's been pushed up pretty decently for Loken and LvMao.
I will say, every attempt that we've seen from Irma, he has missed that chain on towards Yagao.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of silencers will throw the chain out in a random direction just to get the proc of their passive. That's not that. He was trying to hit Yagao there, trying to get a favorable trade. Didn't happen. As they start off the Herald for themselves, Kanavi can come in, though, and Zoom has his TP. We could have a big old fight on our hands
But
here.
Zoom just used a top lane, so not going to actually even try to contest it. Oh, wait a minute. Don't. No way. No way. He's going to be able to steal it. How? You let him get away with it. Hacker, come on.
Oh, you love to see it. Kanavi's just like, look, I don't care about the Herald. I don't want the Herald. I just want you to not have the Herald. I just want to snag that 100 gold away right under your nose, Mr. Hacker. He doesn't get to play the game, unfortunately.
He used Destiny Gate to just grab the eye before it despawned, too. I saw that pop. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I see what you're doing here.
I'm not even sure if that's good, honestly, but look, I love it. It's stylish.
It's the greatest
exactly
play
what
ever.
I want.
It's the greatest play I've ever seen, ever.
Hey, and now, like, with the Herald and guaranteed gold onto your mid laner with it, that's a pretty good look. For the side of JDG, they could go down towards the bottom lane, slam that, get gold on both the carries once again, make another dive play on ShiauC and Rat, and turn that into a first tower. Sounds like a pretty good plan to me.
It does, and seeing this coming in from JDG, this is what we wanted to see out of this team that we know is in the fight for playoffs. They're trying to make sure that they're going to come into this strong, and so far, they are looking really hot in this game. If they can continue to play with this kind of early game domination that is a bit uncharacteristic out of them, they might be able to put up a far better threat against some of these teams. The last time when they played up against FPX, they forfeited a lot of that early pressure. They struggled to deal with the skirmishing capabilities FPX brought to the table, and here they're actually being able to stop a lot of what normally eStar should be able to accomplish.
You see Yagao headed back to base. He's just finished himself a rocket belt, so big power spike coming through in the mid lane for JDG. And just look at the difference between mid lane items right now. You expect Irma to be recalling soon, so we'll see him pick something up, but he doesn't have a single component just yet, whereas Yagao already has a mythic. So even on this recall, I don't expect Irma to be matching in terms of gold there. Yeah, you see a lost chapter coming through, a control ward. He's on half of an item comparatively, so massive difference in the mid lanes right now. And guess what? Yagao gets to slam a Herald that he gets all of the gold credit for already. He's going to be able to grab himself 3 solo plates right there. If it wasn't already a mid lane gap, it sure is now.
With 5 stacks on that Dark Seal as well, already has a bounty on his head. Yagao is going to be the one that is going to be able to carry this team. Irma had stolen away the Destiny Gate, popped it, but wasn't able to get anything off of it. It's a bit difficult, especially when you have Yagao. Maybe he's going to be able to use that Rocket Belt to be able to get close enough. Yes, was slowed down. There it is, gold card onto him, but unfortunately not going to be able to have Zoom in a position to be able to get this unless he wants to be able to get the Goomba Stomp. ZS will be able to escape.
Yeah, good little flash there. Or good little play to force the flash. So that's the Hacker moving into the jungle. He's like, look, I've got a favorable jungle matchup. We're going to go for it.
He lost Smite Fire. And now they're trying to see if they can get the fight. Double knockup comes in from LvMao. Irma on the other side. Onslaught of Shadows was able to get at least a big fear onto ShiauC. Here comes Loken on the other side. They've lost the jungler, but they're going to be able to get the kill they need to for LvMao. 1-for-1 trade. Featherstorm was used. A little bit of damage onto LvMao. He's stunned up by the flash bear slap, but the flash coming in from Loken to be able to survive underneath the turret. Gets slowed down and stunned up by a bear slap again. Loken trying to be able to fight back to be able to get a kill, but he's not going to be able to get that. Instead, Yagao's on the other side fighting against Irma, but he doesn't want to be able to be in this 1v3 fight. He has to back out of there.
All right, so Rat is officially into the game. What did we say? When it's a pick, JDG are going to be on top. But when these fights extend, that's when eStar can come into it. They love these extended scraps, these brawls, these skirmishes. That's exactly what their composition wants to do. Rat able to just chill at the back of the fight the entire time and just free fire. Grabs himself a triple kill, and now he's got his Essence Reaver already. It's going into the Noon Quiver as well, so he's going to feel real strong moving into the mid game.
That is not looking good for you, ZS. You got to be careful there fighting against Zoom. Had Zoom been able to go Mega, I'm pretty sure that could have been a solo kill.
Yeah, that was real close, and the Stride Breaker coming through for Zoom as well, so he can close those gaps. But let's take another look. They try and, they get the nice double knock up here, but realistically, you've got your two hard engaged players here and no one else, so there's no real damage follow-up. Loken blows everything, and yeah, he gets a nice kill onto ShiauC, but he's just blown all of his cooldowns onto just the support. JDG now, for the entire fight, have basically had no damage, and they end up going down.
We jump back into live. Rat dies. ShiauC dies as well to the dive coming in from JDG. As you can see, that Zoom trying to be able to escape. It is going to be a trade over across the map for 2-1.
Okay, nicely done by eStar to at least trade that, but again, JDG, they know where they're strong. They know that with an Alistar and a Hecarim, diving these towers is easy peasy. And with Drake up, it means that they can transition this into not only a second tower already, they can also grab themselves this Drake. I don't know when that first tower went down in the top side of the map, because it wasn't even a Herald to grab it, but it must have been in the midst of a replay or something.
I think it was Zoom was able to get it. That's why he was overextended top lane. So we did miss that. But still, the fact, he trades his life for a turret, and then they get a second turret in Dragon off of that play. That's a huge boom for the side of JDG. You can see that from the gold lead that they've been able to get themselves here. 16 minutes into the game, 3,000 gold lead, 2 dragons on top of it as well. Hell, they might be able to get that Rift Herald with it too.
Yeah, very possible. As we take another look here at just the pick that happened onto Zoom. Nicely done by eStar to at least punish something on the map. It's basically realizing, look, we can't do anything about what's happening in the bottom side. Realistically, Rat and ShiauC should have just backed away from the tower entirely. But now we're getting towards the mid game. This is where eStar have to start to make some moves and try and outplay JDG on the map, because they're not gonna win if JDG is ahead of the play. If JDG are setting up the play that they want, that's when eStar could be in trouble.
Can be in a bit of trouble, especially when you have Yagao with that massive lead so far. All right, look at him and how far ahead of anyone else on the side of eStar. Just that player alone was, what was it, nearly 1,000 gold over the next closest, which was Rat. Sure, Loken, has a pretty decent lead himself, but I'm really looking at this Twisted Fate, what they're able to utilize him for, and now that he's gotten a Zhonya's completed with having that Mythic, how he's going to be able to go immediately and dive into the backline, go golden so the rest of the team can show up to back him up.
Yeah, this Tristana is getting real big. That's 3 towers now for JDG. They are really, really fast at taking those towers down. So in the next few minutes, look towards where Loken goes on the map. Wherever Loken is, that's where the play is going to be from JDG. They have to play around this Tristana. It's kind of a similar story for eStar, because Rat realistically represents a huge amount of the gold for the side of eStar. He's gone for the Kraken Slayer, basically saying, look, I know we're going to be team fighting. I know I'm not playing Assassin on this Xayah today. I'm playing front to back. I'm going to sit behind my Rakan. I'm going to sit behind my Udyr and just try and throw out these spells.
Always be able to utilize that front line. This is where I feel like JDG have kind of gotten that pinpointed and know what they need to do. Since it's a lot of low range on the side of eStar, all you have to do is be able to get through that Udyr, get through that Rakan, and what does Kanavi do as Hecarim? He does exactly that. He's gonna gallop right past them, have Zoom nearby too, so that they can always be on top of Rat, and make it so that that's not gonna be the carry threat anymore if you're constantly having to peel for this one person while everyone else on JDG are dictating the flow of the fight.
So what JDG really want to do as well is just never allow that 5v5 to happen. They don't ever want to be in that situation. They want to set up a 1-3-1. You got Gnar in the top side. You can see Yagao in the bottom lane as well. Loken will be able to hop away here. I don't think Hacker can get in as the tower goes down. But importantly, with a Twisted Fate, what JDG love to do here is just set up in the different lanes and wait for a moment where someone on eStar extends. Twisted Fate flies into that play, TP from Zoom, force a huge pick, and then snowball objectives off the back of that. Never go for the straight 5v5, always try and find that pick.
And when you have this kind of vision control out of JDG, they're easily able to set that up. They know where eStar are going to be. They know where they need to position constantly on the map. And it's eStar trying to pick up the pieces, trying to be able to move around the map as one unit. You see how they're all grouped up here inside their own jungle just because they're trying to find anything, any kind of control, even utilizing a TP from Irma to be able to chase them down. I don't think they're going to be able to get anything, especially with a tier 1 still standing.
Yeah, the TP coming in the mid lane here, because Drake's up in 50 seconds, so eStar know they've got to get some vision down. JDG with a pretty late reset on this one. You can see them all just recalling now. It's fine that it's a late reset so long as they come in together here. Luckily for them, they've got a Twisted Fate, right? So even if they don't have vision coming into the Drake, you can still just pop the Destiny. You don't have to use it as a pick tool. You can just use it to scout out your opponents. JDG, honestly, if eStar do commit to positioning on this Drake, I wouldn't be too averse to JDG just conceding, allowing them to have the Drake. It doesn't actually matter. One Ocean Drake won't change this game. But
be careful. Irma looks like he's picked off and killed off immediately by Loken. The other 4 trying to fight back. They're going to be able to get the trade on Kanavi, so no smite for the side of JDG. eStar trying to be able to get away. Yagao was so fast in that one. They wanted to be able to set up a trap for him, but JDG still had the inside track for the Dragon.
Yeah, I mean, eStar, they needed to be grouped up. They needed to... I mean, Irma just got... He just got engaged on by LvMao. Never even got to flash, right?
Oh.
He had his flash up the entire time, but another CC chain starts.
Yeah, and look at that. Yagao took a lot more damage from ZS than he was able to do back, not being able to dish out what he wanted to be able to throw. Instead, there's still the 4 members of both squads trying to be able to have that skirmish around this objective. eStar need to make sure that they're keeping this contestant going on because they want to take it. They have the smite available. Kanavi is galloping his way onto the map, but the longer you wait to be able to take this objective, the easier it is going to be for JDG to be able to take it away.
Kanavi's clearing a ward on his way here.
Yep.
He's in no rush whatsoever. This is a straight 5v5 though. I actually kind of am starting to favor eStar in this situation unless Loken can pop off.
And this is the longest waltz I've seen in a while, and it's only around the Dragon. Normally you see this around a Baron. The TP was burned. A lot of damage onto Loken, so that might mean that JDG have to concede this objective, unless, of course, he's going to be able to heal up on that Grump. But now they're having it low. The smite's going to go over to the side of JDG. They lost Kanavi, but the fight continues. Loken on the other side, not going to be able to find the flank that he wanted to be able to just yet. You can see the damage coming in from ZS. Now he's able to turn it back around, take him down. Hacker onto the carry in the back line as they've lost 2 members on JDG. They've lost the fight, but they still got the objective.
So Kanavi, once again, just zero respect for Hacker's smites. That's like the 19th time this game now that we've seen him just walk in and steal something. We saw it at the Herald. We're seeing it on the Dragon as well. But importantly, JDG did not have to fight this. They could have just let Kanavi go in, try and get the steal, and just dip. They still try and take the fight. They end up losing the fight because, as we said, eStar really good in those skirmishes. Rat could just sit back and fire away with the Kraken Slayer. Look at Rat in this fight. His Blade Caller as well was exceptional. Loken has basically no health at the start of the fight. So you see Kanavi gets the steal. Great stuff. But now, you just have this bunched up death ball from eStar that JDG can't really break through. And Zoom gets his ult, but doesn't actually stun anyone. The Blade Caller through the entire team. Rat is untouched throughout the entire skirmish. So in terms of the actual fight, eStar miles and miles ahead. But the key thing is JDG got the steal, so now they're on Soul Point.
And that's the big deal. I always talk about Soul Point being one of, I think, the strongest moments of any team, where it's not even about having the soul. It's about being able to pressure the fact that you might have the soul. The other team has to constantly answer you on that. Yagao might be caught out by Hacker Gold. Was able to get the stun at least, but you can see how fast they are. They want to be able to chase this. Going to be able to dodge again from the chains, but it's the Everfrost with the golden color, trying to see if they can survive Kanavi. He's a pretty fast boy, but there's a 5v5 fight again, and Zoom's not there. Trying to be able to jump into the backline. They're going to be able to get the kill onto Rat, and Rat gone. That's the whole fight out of eStar, that they can't be able to mount any kind of defense anymore, and they have to back out.
Yeah, that was deceptive because it looked like a 5v5 because all 10 players were on our screen. But when you look at the positioning, eStar were 4 men strong on the top side, and then Rat was totally separated from the team. So even though it was a 5v5 scenario, JDG find the pick that they were looking for, and they take the lead away from this.
Keep going for the fight as well. ZS trying to be able to get away from Loken, but they're going to lose 2 members immediately to the explosive bomb and try to get the triple kill out of Loken. Irma barely able to go golden to be able to survive, but they're going to be able to take him down. They should be able to get the clean wipe. It's a delayed ace. Even though Irma's surviving for a long time, finally he falls, and the Baron is JDG's.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy for JDG here. They managed to get the pick onto Rat, and then eStar, even without that AD carry, which realistically Rat represents almost all of their damage in these fights. Like, you can't go for the 4v5 here. I think eStar just realizing that the game is rapidly falling out of control and hoping for some miracle play, but it just doesn't happen. Now JDG with a Baron, with a 1-3-1 composition, they can just set up insane pressure across the map, chill for the next 2 minutes as they slowly siege down these tier 2s, and then go towards the Ocean Soul.
You can see from this replay, it was just pretty much the catch from the side of JDG. They didn't even have Yagao in this fight. They just knew that everyone was overextended. No damage from Rat. How do you fight back?
Yeah, I mean, it was 4v5, right? So there's not a whole lot that eStar can do about it. There's not a whole lot to analyze there, let's be honest. And this is one of the issues of having something like a Jayce in your composition, right? Is you'd love to have a bit more of a frontline in that kind of situation so you can face check in a bit more easily. ZS on this Jayce pick, like, you know, he found a small advantage in the laning phase, but it's not transitioned into anything, and now the team has fallen so far behind that the side lane threat literally doesn't exist. The rest of the team isn't really about the poke composition, so the Jayce just feels a bit janky now. And we get to set up this position that we were talking about before. You get your solo laners off in each lane, just pressuring with the Baron. You can see Zoom at the bottom side, and while Loken just takes some towers at the top side. 50 seconds until this Ocean Drake, so anticipate that 3-man unit from JDG moving up to, oops, sorry, punch my microphone there. Moving up towards the mid lane, towards the Dragon, and you can have Yagao going towards the top lane where he can TP over to Drake.
And with a huge lead for JDG, nearly 7,000 gold over eStar. You saw pretty much Rat, the one member that they really needed to rely on. He's 3,000 gold behind Loken. That's not really the play anymore unless you can have this miracle where both Loken and Yagao are caught out, way out of position, and then you're somehow able to find a 3v5, which they might attempt here, but again, how do you get to Loken? He just rocket jumps out of there.
Yeah, so what JDG is saying here is basically, like, let's use one extra push with the Baron, because after Drake, Baron will be gone. Kanavi is going to be able to dodge everything.
And LvMao is on the other side too. They have a deep TP coming in from ZS. Might look for Zoom, since Zoom hasn't even been paying attention. He's just been AFK pushing the side lane. Will be able to go Mega soon? No, he's not going to be able to. It's going to be the solo kill. As you can see the fight coming into the jungle. They got a huge knock if they needed to. Loken on the other side of the wall trying to see if they can get the kill that they need to onto Irma, but it's a huge fight coming in from eStar at the moment with ZS jumping onto Yagao. Irma barely alive. Loken not going to be able to get the Goomba stuff that he needs to. They're still waiting for this fight. Rat's no longer in it, so they might be able to find a lot of damage coming in from Loken. Gold card. Yagao might be able to get close enough, but ZS takes out LvMao.
Oh,
Irma on the other side was able to get Loken to go golden. ShiauC barely alive, but that damage coming in from ZS. They turned it around. eStar are able to get an ace for themselves.
I can't believe they pulled that one off, and it's all off the back of ZS. He's the star player in that fight. I criticized the Jayce pick. I criticized his inability to influence this game. He makes the TP play onto Zoom. sets it up so it's a 4v5. Loken gets caught out by Irma, has to blow his stopwatch so ZS can just jump in and finish him off, and then all of the damage is gone from JDG. eStar in these scrappy brawls, that's their comfort zone, and especially with the man advantage, the gold difference doesn't matter as much.
And with this fight, it looked doom and gloom. Rat dies at the beginning of all this.
Yeah, you can see Rat there. He's free firing for a bit and it looked good, but gets taken down by Kanavi because the bomb exploded from Loken on somebody nearby and Rat is taken down. So here I'm like, okay, it's over for eStar. But then JDG overcommit. They could back away here, but they're like, no, we gotta go for this fight. They jump in, Loken gets caught out. ZS just finds an easy pick onto LvMao, but here's the moment. Hacker goes in, then you get the knockup from ShiauC. Irma's right next to him. Loken can't do anything. Nobody can peel for him in this situation, and JDG just overextend.
They needed to back out of that one, like you mentioned. They got the pick they needed to onto Rat. There's not gonna be that damage that you have to worry about. Back out of it. Try to see if he can push this. Now, ZS trying to fight against the two tanky members on the side of JDG. Losing him could be pretty big. He's got a shield coming in to be able to save him for now. Still alive on the other side. Somehow barely getting out of there.
You know what, Mad? I take it back. I said that Jayce isn't a front line. I said that, you know, building pure damage, you're going to be squishy. I was apparently wrong because he just tanks up JDG for about 10 minutes straight there. I don't quite know how he survived that one, honestly, but with the Moonstone coming in from ShiauC and the shields, I guess he is a tank after all. So, importantly, eStar got that Ocean Drake, so they're going to stall that Soul win condition from JDG. In terms of scaling, they do have more damage on the side of eStar in terms of that scaling. The problem I see for eStar is it can be a little difficult to find the fights that you're looking for if JDG separate on the map like they should. But right now, JDG playing this one very slow, but it feels like they've lost a little bit of that confidence to just go for the 1-3-1.
And I feel like that's also indicated in their items. If you can see, it's like Zoom. Much more dedicated to be able to deny a lot of that damage that can come in from Rat. Being able to go for that Randuin's Omen with the Dead Man's Plate as well. Kanavi doing something similar. Just ditching, going straight tank to be able to dive into the backline, survive a lot of damage. Really relying on Yagao and Loken to be those members to keep them going through. Even this TP used by eStar to deny a full front-to-back team fight. Even though Destiny Gate by Yagao, you're spotted out there. They're going to be able to chase you, especially if they get the change with you going golden. They're attempting to get the fight, but Kanavi hasn't gotten into the back line just yet. They got down the support. Yagao is able to stay alive and escape from that one as Irma able to dive into the back line, but they're keeping him at bay for now. Kanavi is able to get there way fast enough with Irma dying to Zoom. Two members are now dead on the side of eStar with JDG somehow finding the fight.
These fights are so spread out and chaotic that JDG are able to take these kind of small skirmishes within the fight. And what we found there was Rat had so much pressure on him from Kanavi, he's not really able to consistently throw out DPS. He gets pushed away, and while that's happening, ShiauC and Irma are taken out of the fight. 2 picks is enough now for JDG to grab themselves this Baron, and they can return to the 1-3-1 pressure that we set up before. This time, though, they have plenty of time on this Baron to use it to grab themselves the Ocean Soul. They should not be having these fights that we saw before the Drake last time. This time, it should be slow, it should be steady, and it should be clean macro from JDG.
Paint by numbers League of Legends, please, JDG. Play it slow, wait it out, utilize the minions. No more finding these wild fights. I mean, that last one worked out well, but I want to see you utilize this Baron to its fullest.
Yeah, I mean, they have a huge lead. Look at the AD carry right now. You've got Loken in a position where he can hard carry a fight, and the rest of the team is built to facilitate protecting him if a fight happens. But realistically, you don't actually want to be fighting. You've got Yagao, who's in this full pick build, right? He's got the rapid fire cannon, he's got the rocket belt and the Lich Bane. He's all about just slamming one massive gold card to start a pick off. But JDG are grouping up again. Nobody's up on the top side of the map.
And look at this TP.
You got a
in from
TP
Zoom.
flank from Zoom. They just want a 5v5, I guess.
I guess, but there's the root call to be able to get a little bit of a lockdown on JDG. So Zoom, he might have been zooming his way to the back line, but nowhere was the team to be seen from JDG. Even though he's about to go mega. Gold card onto Irma with dodged away. Takes a boulder to the face. They're still setting up around this dragon. Remember, this is sole point for the side of JDG.
The issue is Zoom is in Mega right now. If he goes mini right before the fight, this actually could go well for eStar. Here we go.
The quickness, but it was the smite secured by Kanavi. The fight's going to be happening into the back line as they get Rat caught off from the rest of the team, but can they kill him? They've lost out Rakan, but Rat's still alive. They have to be able to get back to him as DS is somehow showing him back up into the fight. Finally dies to the Bonerang, but now without Rat, there's no damage left for the side of eStar, and they all died to the ace coming in from JDG.
It was a little bit close in the fight, but JDG, once again, Kanavi wins the smite fight. They get the soul for themselves, and what could have been an exceptionally close fight, could have been a fight that turns the game for eStar with an Ocean Soul as a factor. It's just impossible for them to win. Beautiful from Kanavi, by the way. Finishes the kill on ShiauC, runs all the way around, and blast comes out the other side of the fight. That was hilarious to watch. But JDG, a little disrespectful in the way they've played this one out, honestly. I don't think they needed to be just 5v5ing, but essentially saying, look, we're the better team at the end of the day. We're going to mechanically outplay you, and we're going to take game one.
Getting that game, like you mentioned, a bit of a hiccup in that mid game. Doesn't matter. The result is the same either way. Pretty dominating performance, and like I mentioned before, with the items and how they're able to transition that composition, where normally it was about, you know, the quick picks and being able to try to find some really fast skirmishes, they transitioned having Gnar and Hecarim be more of tanks.
Yeah, exactly, and trying to use them as just like a... It was almost like we've turned this pick composition into a team fight composition by just blowing someone up at the start of the fight and then just 5v4ing, right? Which is kind of your classic pick composition mentality. I do think that it was a little unnecessary to just 5v5 all the time, especially that last one where you've got Baron, like, play the side lanes. There is no rush to go for this Ocean Drake. Like, the Ocean Soul wasn't actually ultimately a big win condition for them. Like, you can use it as a win condition, but they didn't need it, is the point I'm trying to make. With this 1-3-1 comp, you could just use the Baron, just take inhibs, and then go for the Ocean Soul if you can't just end on the Baron push. So, I don't think it was totally necessary to go for the 5v5, but you know what? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. They won the fight. They consistently won every single smite fight. Kanavi stole like 19 objectives away from the enemy, away from Hacker.
A blue buff. I think there's a Scuttle Crab.
Well,
yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot that Kanavi was just like, nope, mine, yoink, mine. Just anything that was ever contested by hackers, like, no, no. I have played the Smite game. You know, that one that you can find on the browser where you test out your skills. He's been playing hours of that.
Yeah, he went full seagull, and Hacker was basically just one of those crabs out Finding Nemo that gets picked up by a seagull. He's like, put me back in the water. So unfortunate game for Hacker, realistically, but you know, there is a damage graph there. There is a gold graph there. There's not much of a conclusion we can draw from it that we don't already know from the back of this game. I will say the early game from JDG is what I'm impressed by. Yagao using that TP in the bottom lane exceptionally early, then making the repeat play with the Destiny at level 6. I thought that was a really creative way to use this Twisted Fate pick to get Loken ahead and win out that 2v2, putting Rat behind. Because that was the big thing we said coming into this one, was that Rat and ShiauC potentially could abuse the 2v2. JDG makes sure that's not a possibility.
And the thing is, they still almost were able to utilize Rat anyways. They were almost able to get him in a position to be able to carry. That's why we constantly were referencing him throughout the game. The fact that, imagine, had Yagao and Kanavi not spent all that time bot lane immediately out of the gates, Rat would have been able to just had a breezy laning phase, scaling up throughout the entirety of it. I feel like some of those fights that were more on the knife's edge could have favored eStar.
Yeah, for sure. Like, there was a few of the fights that felt like, with a couple of different plays mechanically, it could have gone their way. Rat especially, I was keeping my eyes glued to him during those fights, because it was like, okay, if he can just survive Kanavi, if he can just survive the initial dive that comes through, he can take over the fight. He's playing this Xayah, like, you're exceptionally good at surviving those dives. Unfortunately, for eStar, JDG played them exceptionally well, and you could see that basically Yagao and Loken just kind of ignored Rat. They just never went anywhere near him and just went, look, we have more damage right now. We're just going to kill the other people on your team. We're just going to kill your front line. And then you have no way to engage on us. You have no way to actually win the fights from that point. So really well played by JDG in the fights, and really well played by them on the map. I think, honestly, in terms of the draft, even though ZS had a couple of highlight moments there, I still would have preferred to maybe just like, I know ZS isn't really a huge tank player, but maybe just something like the Sion, just as like we can brute force and engage here. We can find our way into the fight and make sure that we're finding this